During the campaign, Donald Trump talked a lot about how he was going to just get so much done on his first day, his first week, his first 100 days in office. And yesterday I played a clip for you of Donald Trump's unhinged 31-year-old advisor, Stephen Miller, who went on the Sunday morning shows over the weekend and gave these very authoritarian Kim Jong-un style proclamations saying, among other things, we have a president who has done more in 3 weeks than most presidents have done in an entire administration. And that got me thinking, wait a second, usually the truth is the opposite of what Trump's advisors say. What has Donald Trump accomplished so far, other than signing orders that he likely didn't read? What has he actually done that has had a real world empirical impact? And Trump's strongest critics say he's dismantling America. His supporters say he's getting a lot done by following through with campaign promises. The truth is that neither is the case. Donald Trump has signed 45 executive orders and memos. First of all, this is actually fewer than the number President Obama had signed at this point in his presidency, but I want to focus on content rather than quantity. None of the executive orders that Trump has signed actually create actions or changes except for the Muslim majority country immigration ban, which you'll remember was actually struck down by a Washington court, an appeals court, and eventually the Ninth Circuit Court, and is now null. It's dead. It's like it never happened. Most of Trump's executive orders have been signed with great theater in the Oval Office, but they're just sort of grandiose suggestions for the government to do things, which it placates the Trumpists. But the execution of these orders actually requires some combination of approval and funding from Congress. It's mostly song and dance. One example is the Keystone and Dakota Access Pipeline orders. Trump signed these orders directing the federal government to stop impeding infrastructure projects, but that has no legal bearing on the responsibilities of the Army Corps of Engineers, which actually decides about Dakota Access Pipeline, Keystone XL. It's horrible, don't get me wrong, that the president is trying to get these pipelines going because it's the laughing stock of the modern world. The president supporting it still could have an impact. But again, it does nothing in the short term. Another example, Trump signed a crime executive order on February 9th. It was meant to, quote, prevent violence against law enforcement officers and combat transnational criminal organizations. Sounds great, right? I mean, who would be opposed to that? But again, it doesn't change any policies. Donald Trump's orders on healthcare, ISIS, growing the military, they had no legal weight. Recall that the Obamacare order that Donald Trump signed very early on, it was like day 2 maybe of his presidency. Obamacare is still in place. And by the way, the repeal effort for Obamacare has slowed way down. Again, these are suggestions. The idea that the president would like these things to happen. And when you talk about the smallest, most efficient government possible, a conservative small government idea, some of Trump's orders have just been straight up redundant. On January 25th, the order to crack down on undocumented immigration, it didn't suggest anything different from Bush and Obama era policies. It was just nonsense language. The border wall order, it doesn't actually do anything. Congress already passed in 2006 the Secure Fence Act, which essentially called for the same thing. It did nothing. What it did do was completed during the Bush and Obama administrations. And as we know, with deportations, Donald Trump is likely going to deport fewer people than were deported under the Barack Obama administration. So Trump has signed a lot of stuff that he probably didn't read, but he's barely done a thing so far.
But I think there's at least the appearance that he's done a lot, because the few things that he has done has been rolled out so poorly that there's this media circus that follows it, and his spokespeople get in trouble for saying all this crazy stuff afterwards.
Yes.
So, I mean, like with regards to the refugee and
immigration ban.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that, even though it has since been nullified, I mean, the effects of that are long lasting, and that was heard around the world. So there was a big deal of attention paid to that.
Oh, yeah. There's certainly like a PR effect and the opinion of countries around the world of the U.S. And temporarily there were many, many people that were delayed, stuck at airports, et cetera. But in terms of lasting American policy, it accomplished nothing. And the list of broken campaign promises from Trump is getting longer and longer. He wanted to, at one point, ban all Muslim immigrants. He's changed that to this more selective ban, which itself was blocked by a Washington court, appeals court, and then the Ninth Circuit Court. The beginning of an Obamacare repeal on day one, again, he signed an executive order, which actually didn't do anything. He now says he likes portions of the Affordable Care Act and no repeal has actually started. The entire build a wall with Mexico and make them pay for it. I mean, that's laughable. We know that that's not going to happen as described. It would actually cost $22 billion and would likely not even be done by by the end of Trump's first term. Investigate Hillary Clinton fell apart, never actually really planned to do that. The Supreme Court appointments that would reverse national gay marriage. Now he says he's fine with that. Stop job outsourcing. There's been no nationwide reduction of jobs leaving the U.S. He saved some Carrier and Ford jobs by making one-off deals which don't represent policy. So what Trump says and signals, as Pat said, matters, but we can't go forward thinking that Donald Trump has really done anything in these first 3 weeks, because it's been basically signaling and signing stuff that doesn't really change anything.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, there used to be this unwritten rule in politics where you don't criticize a president in the first 100 days because that's in the spirit of giving him a chance. With all the craziness that he's done, there's no way that you could pay attention to that rule now.
He's had more scandals in the first 25 days than President Obama had in 8 years. Yeah, the idea of, oh, we're not going to criticize for 100 days, it seems completely laughable at this point.